Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Okay, today's live stream, I'm currently working on this portrait and it's going to be a course, a free course on YouTube. So I was just already working on this before now, and since I was already going to do a live stream today, I thought why not continue working on this for the live stream. So I was working on the earrings. So this is the finished sculpt. I've taken it all the way to rithopology. So this is the rithopologized sculpt, finished sculpt, rithopologized sculpt. And right now I was working on the earrings. So let me pull up the concepts I'm using here so that you guys can see. So this is the concept, and I'm trying to make these earrings. I did this other ear, so let me just work on this other one too right now. I'll go to the settings and I'm going to increase line spacing. Okay, nice. I think you can also still adjust this once you turn this text into a mesh. And the thickness, let me see the thickness I used for this one. So I think I want this to have more thickness. So I'm just going to increase this. Okay, something like that. Something like that looks good. And I'm going to convert this to a mesh. So Control E and visual geometry to mesh. Nice. Now this is a mesh. Okay, and what I want to go ahead and do is to make these holes on the earrings. So I'm just going to isolate this, and let me just turn on screen cascades. Okay, and we're going to add in a torus. So I'm just going to bring my 3D cursor over here, Shift A, let's add in a torus. Okay, and you can scale this down, and you can also use Alt S to scale it down a bit, something like this. Probably scale it down even more, and then we can rotate this on the y-axis by 90 degrees, and I'll just place this. It should be somewhere right here. Okay, and I'll fatten it up a little bit with Alt S. Okay, and reviewed. Right click and shade this one, and I'm going to duplicate this one, and I'll press Alt S in edit mode. And this one is actually going to be our boolean, the object that we're going to use for boolean. So I'm going to select the text. I'm going to go to the modifiers. I'll add in a boolean modifier, and then I will select this one. And now if I hide this, so we're eventually going to delete that object, so it looks good right now. So, and if I also go into edit mode, I select this and I just move these into place. If I go back into object mode, you can see that it creates the opening that we want on the letters. I'll just place this here. Also place this one like this, something like this. And then we can place the E right here. something like this looks fine. I'll Alt H to unhide these ones, and I'll just select this, go into edit mode, and then we can duplicate this and move them in the right spot. So Shift D to duplicate this, and I'll place it right there. And Shift D to duplicate this once again, and let's just place this right here. Okay, and if we hide this one, now we have exactly what we are looking for. I'm going to go to the top view, and I'll just make this top part of the earring. So we can select this one, duplicate it right here. Maybe I'll rotate this on the y-axis just a little bit. We can select this one, Shift S, and move cursor to selected, and I'm just going to add a round cube right there. I'll scale it down a lot, and I'll just move it somewhere around there. Alright, so that's the earring done, and I'm just going to apply all modifiers on this. Ctrl A, visual geometry to mesh. That's going to apply all modifiers, and then I'll join everything together. Ctrl G. If I do that, I'll just shade this smooth, and Ctrl G to join them together. Alright, nice. Now let's place these earrings properly. We're going to rotate this on the x-axis by 90 degrees. I'll scale it up a little bit just to fit the size of the other earring, and we can place it right here on the ear. Nice. Okay, I think I added two, so I'm just going to do the same right here. I'll bring this down a little bit. Should take this one up, GZ, and we can duplicate this GZ to move it up a little bit, and rotate this on the x-axis, on the z-axis by 90 degrees. Alt S. I'm going to scale this down. And let's place this round cube in the correct spot. Okay, I think this is too big, the size of this is too big. Let's scale it down. Something like this looks good, and we can place this one right here. And I think I've moved the origin point by mistake, so let me just turn back on origin, and I want this to be up here. You can press Ctrl full stop and just move this back into place. Something like this, and Ctrl full stop to turn that off. I'll turn back on snapping, and I'll snap this right on the ear right here, and then we can rotate this a little bit. Okay, I think that looks good. I'll scale it down a little bit to fit the size of the other earring, and I'm going to go in and add some randomness to each of these letters. So I'm just going to select this loop here, Shift S, cursor to selected, and I'll change my pivot point to 3D cursor, and I'm going to select all of these. You can just select this, Ctrl L to make sure you have everything selected, and we can just also make sure to turn off snapping, and then we can just rotate this a little bit more. Something like this. And then you can move the 3D cursor right here. You can select these ones, Control L to make sure everything is selected, and then you can rotate this, something like that, just to give it a little bit of randomness. And I think I'll do the same on this other earring here. I'm going to move the 3D cursor right here, Shift S, cursor to selected. I'll select this, Control L to make sure everything is selected. I'm just going to rotate them a little bit. Move the 3D cursor right here, Shift S, cursor to selected. Select this, Control L, and rotate it just a tiny bit. Also do the same here. Control L, rotate it a tiny bit. So I'm just trying to give it a little bit of randomness from this view, something like that. And I'll select this one, Shift S, and then we can rotate this just a little bit. Nice. Okay, right, so that is the earring done, and I think that looks good. So when I was sculpting this out, this was the placeholder for the earrings, and I've been able to to make the earring look much nicer. Just put this back into the right collection. And I don't know what these are, so let's just delete them. Okay, so we have the earring dot L, and I'm going to name this earring dot R for left and right. Okay, and just put a little CH underscore. Okay, nice. And now I want to work on the hair, basically the eyebrows and the eyelashes. I don't know if I'll be able to complete like this hairstyle. I don't know if I'll be able to go into the hairstyle in the amount of time I have, but let's go ahead and do the eyebrows and the eyelashes. So these are currently placeholders, these mesh eyebrows and eyelashes. I have them in their own collection, so I'm just going to hide that collection. I'm going to create a new collection, and I'll name it CH underscore hair. And we want all our hair objects to be inside here. Okay, so to make the eyebrows, we are going to select some parts of the geometry of our topologized geometry. So I'm just going to make a selection, something like this. Okay, that looks good. Then we can duplicate this, and I'll separate this into its own collection, into its own object. And I can select it. I don't need the multi-trace modifier on it, so I'm just going to remove that. But I want this object to stick to the surface of the sculpt, so I'm just going to add a shrink wrap modifier, and I'll shrink wrap that. Okay, and I also want to mirror this over to the other side, so I'm just going to add in a mirror modifier, and I'll also make sure to apply all transforms too. Okay, I'm just turn this off. Okay, and we can apply all these modifiers. Control E, visual geometry to mesh. I'm just going to apply all your modifiers for you. Now, before we start making hair, I'm going to be using the geometry node hair system. So we want to make sure to have UV maps for the hair scalp. Let me just rename this. So this is going to be GEO underscore brow scalp, and I'll just move this into the hair collection. Okay, and let's make sure that these have UV. So just select all with A, then U, unwrap angle based, and a UV map like this is completely fine. This is going to work for our needs. All right, now let's go ahead and let's actually start grooming the eyebrows. Before I just go ahead start doing that, I'll turn on the placeholder objects. I'm just going to use the annotation line. I'm just going to draw out the shape of the eyebrow, the overall shape of the eyebrow that I want. So this is going to guide my grooming when I start grooming the hair. Something like this. We can hide that back. Okay. And now with the brow scalp selected, Shift A, we can add a curve empty hair. We're going to start off with an empty hair. Okay, and here it is. To get started with the hair, I'm going to sculpt mode, and we're going to use the add brush. And I'm just going to add one right here, and I'll make sure I like the length of the hair before I go forward. Yeah, and just before I do this, I realize I'm not working according to scale right now, like real world scale. So if I add in a cube right here, so GZ1, so this cube is 2 meters and the head is way bigger than that. So I'm just going to unhide everything, make sure I have everything unhidden. I'm going to Ctrl I to select those, and then I'm just going to use the 3D cursor, make sure to move that back to the world origin. I'm going to scale all of this down somewhere around here, just so that the character can have like a real world scale. I'm just going to place this somewhere around here. This should be fine. I'm going to clean out this annotation line, so a height like that for the character looks fine. I'm going to delete this, and I'll just make sure to select everything, Ctrl A, and apply scale. Okay, and let's make sure to fix the eyebrows, the solidified thickness on the eyebrows and the eyelashes. So I'm just going to adjust this back, take this to -0.001. I'll copy this from here and I'll just paste it right here. Probably I'll put 1.5, or just say 2. Okay, I'll copy this with Ctrl C, and I'm going to paste this right here. Nice. I'm going to hide these placeholders. Nope, placeholder. Yeah, and let's go ahead and draw the annotation line again. So I'm just going to draw it out following the shape of the mesh eyebrow that we already have in place. Nice, that looks good. And I'm going to, let's turn this off. Now let's select our curve that we added in for the eyebrows, and I'm just going to rename this CUV_eyebrows or eyebrow. And then I'm going to sculpt mode. We can start adding hair, and this section is a bit too long, so I'm just going to reduce the length. I'll take this to 0.02. I think should be fine. That's still too long. 0.01 then should be fine. Yeah, 0.01 works just fine. And before you start grooming, it will always be a good idea to have some references. So I'm just going to go to Google now, and I'll type eyebrow eyebrows. Now just find nice image of eyebrows, and I think something like this works fine. and okay, so something like this is going to work just fine, just so that I can have a bit of reference of what I'm doing when I'm grooming the eyebrows. So I'll just start off with one. I'll comb it like so, something like that, just following this reference that we have, or that I have right here. And I'm just going to change the brush to projected so that I can easily move this hair around. Okay, so that is one hair strand. We'll have to do a lot more. I'm going to go back to the add brush, and I'm just going to add some more of this. And make sure to deselect everything first. I'll add one more right here, and then we can comb this into place. I'm going to add another one right here and comb this into place. You can also grow and shrink them, so you can reduce the size if you hold down control and reduce the size. If it's not reducing, just go up to scaling, change the minimum length to 0, and then if you hold down control, that should reduce it. Okay, I'm going to go back to the add brush, and we're just going to keep on adding a lot of hair strands, So right here also, I'll add some more. So I'll just add at the top and at the bottom for now, and then I'll come in and add at the middle when I'm done with the top and bottom. So here, groom this into place. Okay, also make sure to groom this from the top. And you want to make sure it's not clipping. Oh, I see a question in the chat. When you upload full body with topology, I can't tell when I'm going to make a video about full body topology, but it's definitely going to come this year. I can promise you that it's going to be on this channel this year, but I don't know when. I'm currently working on some other tutorials, but that one is definitely on the list. So at some point you're going to see a full body topology video on my channel. Okay, I'm going to keep on adding more hair curves right here. Something like that. Add some more at the top. And I'll make sure that this is in curve select, so that we can select the whole curve. And I'm just going to bring this back. Okay, nice. These ones at the top, I don't like how it's looking, so I'm just going to select this and just comb or readjust the way that looks. Yeah, something like that looks much better. I'm going to select this one too, and I'll just comb it something like this. Okay, I'll select this one, make sure it's not clipping through the mesh. Actually, let me just isolate these for now. And I have just noticed that I'm not mirroring this stuff over to the other side. So yeah, let's do that right now. I'm just going to go into edit mode, Shift D, set my 3D cursor to the world origin, set my pivot point to the 3D cursor, Ctrl M and X to mirror that over to the other side. And now let's make sure to turn on X symmetry so that we don't have to do that for both sides individually. I'm going to select, keep on adding more hairs, so I'll just add one hair right here, comb this into place. Okay, something like this. And groom this into place. I'm just realizing now how boring this is going to be for you guys watching this stuff. I thought it would be a lot more interesting. So I might not talk a little bit because I might not talk because it's repetitive. So yeah, keep on adding new hair and just keep on combing them in. That's hair grooming for you. Something like this, and groom this into place. Okay, we can also add some more right here, and we can also groom this into place. I'm going to select this one and I'll groom it like this. I'll turn off pressure sensitivity right here. Okay, and we can 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to groom this together. Something like this, and you want to make sure to also look at this hair guides from the top too, and make sure that there's nothing that you're missing out. Okay, something like this. We are getting to the end of the hair, and we can add some more right here. And we need to start shortening the hair at the back. Add one right here, and just groom this, and add one more right here, and groom this. And there's a pinch brush in this brush here, this one, and I'm just going to pinch this together, something like that. And I'm going to use the grooming brush, and I'll just reduce the length of these ones, something like that. Okay, that looks fine. I'm going to add some more hair right here and groom this into place. And right now we can actually use, in the add setting, we can actually tell it to interpolate the length and the shape. Okay, and I'm going to add one right here, and it's going to follow the shape of the ones that we already have. Nice. And we're going to add a couple more here. Okay, I see a question again. Please tell after the topology phase we need rework on the eyebrows. Are you doing eyebrows work after the topology? Yes, I'm done with the topology of this character, and I'm currently doing the eyebrows right now. Yeah, I'm currently done with the topology and I'm working on the eyebrows. I believe that's the question you're asking. Okay, this looks okay for now. The room on this, I'll definitely still come back to adjust it, but this is going to be fine for now. Only add one more right here and just groom this into place. Okay, nice. And now you're going to need to interpolate the hair, like make children hair, make everything, like make the eyebrow full. So we are going to add, I think I'm going to use geometry nodes for this one. So I'm just going to add, split out these viewports, open up geometry nodes, and I'll add a new geometry node modifier, and I'll name this eyebrows. Alright, and one thing I also like to do is just to open up the asset browser, and I'll go to hair. And let me just make sure to increase the resolution so that you guys can see this a bit better. Alright, nice. Okay, and let's go ahead and let's add the interpolate hair curves. So this one right here, drag and drop it right here. Nice. I'll move this back a little bit. Now you can notice, or you might have noticed, that all the hair has disappeared. That's fine. We just need to select the surface, and we need to also choose the UV map. So just drag this out and search for named attributes, and you have to type the name of your UV map here. That's fine. To find the name of the UV map, you can just come here, and it should be UV map. So just copy the name in case you changed it, then go back to geometry node. You can actually find the name of the UV map here, and then just paste this. Okay, and now we're going to increase the density, and I'll take this up to 1000. You can start to see something happening. Let's take this up to 10,000. Let's actually take this up to 100,000. Okay, and now you start to see something happening on the eyebrows. So what's currently happening is that the hair is being interpolated everywhere, but we don't want that. We actually want it to interpolate on just this area that we groomed at. So we're going to need to create a texture to tell Blender to do that. So I'm just going to select the hair scalp. I'm going to go into texture paint mode. Under texture slots, I'm going to change this from material to single image, and then I'm going to create a new, and I'm going to name this brow or eyebrow mask. and you can increase the resolution. This doesn't need to be too high. I'll just take it to 1024 times 3. Okay, and new image. And now we're going to need to paint a white mask. I'm just going to paint white at the point where we actually want the hair to grow. I'm just going to paint this right here. You can always come back and refine this. For now, I'm just going to paint it very roughly, something like this. And if we go back into the geometry node editor and we select that mask, nice. Now you can see that the hair is only going to show up in those places where we painted it in. And I'm going to make sure to save this image, so we can come up here. Nope, Ctrl Z, that's the wrong thing. You can save here, save all images, and that's going to save it into Blender. Nice. And let's go ahead and play with the geometry nodes a lot more. I'm going to take the density up to, let's say, 500,000. Take the density. Okay. And something like this looks fine. We are going to need to refine the mask a little bit more. I'm going to change this to black, and then I'm just going to paint away some parts of the mask, and I'm going to change this to a soft brush, actually paint soft brush, and I'm just going to take away some parts. Okay, something like that. And we can also hold down Shift and blur this out. And now we have something going on. I'm just going to add the set hair curves profile. And I'll just add this before the interpolate hair curves. You can add it after, but I like to add it before. And we don't currently see anything change in the viewport, so I'm just going to change this to the curve. I'm going to change this to, oh, looks like there's a new shape method in Blender 5.0. So let's try using cylinder. What's the difference? Again, I'm going to use the cylinder and reduce the radius to about 0.001. Okay, and I believe like it's just like an actual cylinder. I think I'm going to stick to strip. Okay, I'll take the radius up a little bit more. And I'm going to increase this number right here. Nice. I'm going to add a color to this so that I can better visualize this in object. Okay, I'm going to change this back to object and then bring this right here. Something like that looks fine for the eyebrows. And we are going to need to add a lot more hair guides, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to turn off the geometry nodes for now, or we can just mute these instead of turning them off. And then I'm going to go and add in a lot more guides in sculpt mode. You need to add some guides in the middle to tell the hair how to flow. So I'm just going to add a guide here and groom this into place. add one right here, groom this into place, can add one right here and groom it into place. And it's going to be a lot more easier to do since we have the interpolate length and shape turned on, so you can just easily interpolate those. I'm going to bring this down and I'll probably make this one a lot smaller. Can add a hair guide here and just make sure that it doesn't clip through the mesh. Okay, I'm going to add one in the middle right here and groom this into place. I'll add one right here and just keep on grooming them into place. Okay, something like that. I'll also add some more in the front right here. Something like this, and let's unmute this. And okay, that doesn't look too good. Let's add in a clump hair curve and see how that will look. So I'm just going to search for clump hair curves and I'll place this right here. And we are going to need to turn the with the distance. No, not the clump. We're going to need to change the distance. Yeah. This option. Oh, I didn't realize there was a voice echo. Okay, I've turned that down. Sorry about that. Okay, hopefully the echo has stopped right now. Okay, so the guide index used to be at the top here, so I was looking for it. Turns out Splendor, they have moved it down here. I don't know why, but they have moved it down there. All right. Guide distance, so you're going to need to change this, bring this down like a lot. So I'll change this to 0.02. Let's see, 0.04. And I'll change the radius. I'll change this, I'll just bring this down. Okay, something like that. Looks nice. On the hair on the left, I think I'm just going to delete this actually, and then once I'm done with these ones, okay, the voice is good now. Okay, thank you CG Valley, thank you very much. I didn't realize that the voice was echoing. Thank you. Okay, so we have these hair strands here, and I'm just going to groom this into place so that the hair looks good. Something like this, and I think you need more hair, even more hair, just to make the eyebrow much fuller. more full. Something like this. And I'm going to also reduce the guide distance on the clumping. I will take this to 0.002. Okay, something like this. Starting to look good for the eyebrows a little bit. I'm going to smooth this and work on the shape of this a lot more. Let's add one right here. Select only this one and comb it into place. Then we can comb this also into place. And I'll turn this back on. And we don't want any of this hair here. I'm just going to delete those ones for now. And yeah, that eyebrow looks good. I'll bring the color to black a little bit more. And yeah, I like the way that's looking. Let me duplicate this over to the other side. I'm going to select these, Shift D, Control M and X to move it over to the other side. Okay. And okay, I think our hair scalp is clipping through the sculpt, so I'm just going to add a shrink wrap modifier on the hair scalp. Shrink wrap. And I'll select the sculpts and I'll increase the offsets a little bit. Okay, that's not what's supposed to happen. I'm going to change this to projects, turn on negative, and let's try that again. Okay. So the shrink wrap modifier has refused to work for some reason. I'm just going to do it manually. I'm going to select all of this, Alt S. I'm just going to move them out a little bit. I just make sure that they are seated on the surface right there. Okay, something like that, and we can hide the scalp. You don't need to see that one. So that's the eyebrows done for this character. And now I'm going to quickly do the eyelashes also. So I'm going to do the bottom eyelashes and the top eyelashes really quickly. So the same exact techniques that we use for the eyebrows. I'm just going to select these loops right here, Shift D to duplicate this one, P to separate by selection. And okay, I don't like the way this is actually. I'm just going to make a new plane. Yeah, I'm going to use one of these vertex. I'm just going to extrude a new mesh out of this vertex. I'll delete this other vertex and I'm going to create a new mesh from this. I'll change my pivot points back to median points. Hello Slim, what's up? And I'm just going to extrude this along the eyelashes instead of duplicating from the sculpt that has more tears. So I'm just going to do this instead. And this is going to be the scalp for the upper eyelashes. And we can fill this in, and I'm just going to name this GEO underscore lashes, or I'll just name this upper lashes okay. And I'll move this into the hair collection. And then we can add in a new curve object. I'm going to select this, Shift A, curve. I'm gonna add in an empty hair, just like we did for the other one. I'll move this into the correct collection also. Okay, and I'll name this CUV underscore upper lashes. Nice. And before I continue on, I'm just going to add a mirror modifier. I'll apply this mirror modifier, and I'll make sure to have a UV map. So unwrap angle based, just to make sure that we have a UV map. And then I'm just going to make the scalp much slimmer, much thinner, something like this. Okay. And let's go ahead and make the lashes. So I'm going to select the curve object, I'm going to sculpt mode, and I'm going to use the add brush. I'm going to make sure to turn on the X symmetry, so that if I add in hair here, it adds in on the other side. Okay, right now the hair looks fat like this. Just going to turn this back to strip for now, sorry, to strand. And I'm just going to add in a couple of hair on the brow lash for the lashes, and for the brows, just on the lashes right here. Probably I'll space them out a little bit more. Okay, and I'm going to just bring this out, and you can comb this upwards. That's how the eyelashes behave. So just comb this outwards like this. Okay, something like this. And if you notice on any eyelash, this part is going to be much smaller, so we can use the grooming brush and hold down Control and just reduce this parts of the eyelashes. And that's going to be for the eyelashes. Okay, and now let's add modifiers to these eyelashes. I'm going to first of all just add in a new geometry node right here. I'm adding, create a new one, call this upper eyelashes, and then I'll just bring this right here, and let's reduce the radius a lot, 001, and going to add the interpolate hair curves, bring this right here, and let's make sure to choose the right surface and also the right UV map. Control C. I'm just going to paste this right here, and then let's increase the density. We probably have to take this one to about 10,000. That's too small. 1,000. Okay, let's go up to 1 million. Probably just take this up to 7 million. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. I'm going to change the color to black just so that I can see this a little bit more in the viewport. Nice. And I think I want these eyelashes to be a bit more longer, so I'll just use the grooming brush and I'll grow these ones out and make them curved a little bit more. Nice. I'm going to make this thick, a little bit thicker than what we have right now, so I'll just use 2. Okay, something like that. And then we can use the clump hair curves. Yeah, clump hair curves right here. Place this right here, and we are going to change the guide map, the guide distance to just take this to a really low value, 0.002. Yeah, nice. 0.001. And I'm just going to increase the clump offsets, actually tip spread just a tiny bit. 0.001. Yeah, something like that for the eyelashes. Look good right now. And I think this way I'm going to call it a day for the live stream, because I really need to rush up to somewhere right now. So like I said at the beginning of this video, all this I'm doing right now is like I'm making a whole course. It's going to be free here on YouTube. It'll be a long course like the one I had previously. It'll probably come out at the end of this month or in February. But it's going to be free on YouTube. It's going to be a portrait course. I'm going to show you everything that you need to be able to sculpt a portrait like this. So I'm just like recording it so that I know the steps to teach you guys in the course. I'm going to properly record this for the actual course. So this is not the main recording. And yeah, I'm going to be out here on YouTube at least before the end of this month or by early February. So thank you guys for joining the live stream, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.